Immune system story. The castle. Very important structure/fortress that needs to be protected. The enemy. Foreign invaders. Enemies that need to be killed. The military system. Protects the castle from potential harm by recognizing and responding to the coat of arms and shields of invading enemies. If an enemy comes into contact with the castle's military system has 3 lines of defenses. The first line of defense. The first line of defense prevents the enemy from getting inside the castle. There are 2 different defense systems in place that protect the castle: the outer curtain wall and machicolations. The outer curtain wall. The outer curtain wall is a wall surrounding the outside of the castle. It's made with stone/concrete, and it acts as a barrier to prevent the enemy from getting inside the castle. Machicolations. Machicolations are balconies with holes on the floor built on the higher levels of the castle. If an enemy made it through the outer curtain wall, machicolations would be used as another form of defense. The reason why there are holes is so the knights defending the castle can throw things at the enemies and kill them before they get inside. They throw a variety of things, including heavy stones and rocks, and arrows. The second line of defense. Let's say that the enemy has gotten by the first line of defense. The invading enemy would trigger a non-specific protection mechanism called the wild animal response, which would also activate the second line of defense. The wild animal response. When an enemy enters the castle, an alarm is triggered, which releases more wild animals to help isolate foreign enemies from further contact with the castle. Man-eating horses. Man-eating horses kill and devour enemies before they can become a nuisance in the castle. Unicorns. Unicorns are large man-eating horses. They are scavengers who patrol and look for potential enemies to eat. If they find any enemies, they will alert the military system. The third line of defense. Now, usually, the wild animal response is strong enough to destroy and kill the enemy. However, if it isn't, then the castle must use its third line of defense, the military response. The military response is the castle's ability to fight enemies through the production of swords or knights that kill the foreign invaders. The castle does not attack its own enemies, but will fight those that don't belong. Shields. All knights have a shield. On their shield is a coat of arms, which is how the castle determines if something belongs or not. An invading enemy will have a different coat of arms. If it belongs to the castle, it will be left alone. However, if someone's coat of arms does not belong to the castle, the military response will be triggered. The knights working in the military response have 3 jobs: recognize the invader, launch an attack, and remember the invader to prevent any future attacks. There are 2 groups that work in this department: T and B Knights. Helper T Knights. The Helper T Knights have receptors on the outside of their armor that recognize the enemy based on its coat of arms. They bind onto the shield of the enemy, which releases an alarm in the castle to signal the presence of the invader. Killer T and B Knights are activated. Killer T Knights. The Killer T Knights will attack and kill their own soldiers if they're recognized as invaders by the Helper T Knights. If a knight gets infected, they are now hijacked to make more infected copies of the enemy. The Killer T Knights kill their infected comrades by making weapons to puncture their armor, which releases the enemy from inside the knight, exposing them to the other military response knights, killing both the soldier and the enemy. B Knights. The B Knights make swords to inactivate the enemy by matching the enemy's shield. Once it finishes making the sword, the B Knight will make copies of itself to help fight off the enemy. Once the enemy is crippled and made helpless by the B Knights, the unicorns and man-eating horses come to clean up what's left of the enemy. Suppressor T Knights. The Suppressor T Knights reduce the number of remaining T and B Knights once the battle is over. The castle doesn't need to make thousands of military knights if there's no longer an enemy to fight off. Memory T and B Knights. After the battle is over, the castle keeps a few T and B Knights around. These guys act as memory knights. They're important because the new memory T and B Knights remember the enemy and know how to kill it.